Hello, welcome to Venture Capital. I've come to Sochi because the $51 billion prize tag has got nearly as much attention as the actual games themselves. So let's just recap on some of those costs then for you for the most expensive Olympic Games in history, because it wasn't just solely for sports. An entire city was built, as you can see just behind me. I'm talking entire roads built from scratch, railway tracks, power plants, and this is all to be used for decades to come. And according to President Vladimir Putin, the price of the Sochi Olympics itself is a much more modest $6.5 billion. So that would be the stadiums, the ski slopes, and pretty much everything sporty. Now, the big venues have been specifically built to meet FIFA standards so they can be used again for the 2018 World Cup. So I've come back. I was here in September to see how the business side of the proceedings has scored. And this is where the journey begins. The airport, of course, where all the world leaders, the athletes, the tourists make their way for their Sochi experience. And it's all about first impressions. And that's exactly why $400 million was spent getting this airport up to international standards. It was Russian billionaire Oleg Deripaska's company, Basic Element, that forked out the money. And, well, let's have a look. As you can see, it's pure indulgence and a bit of luxury on the go. We've got some champagne, of course, as you would expect in the business lounge. You can also have a cheeky massage while you're waiting for your plane. And I spoke to Leonid Sergeyev and I asked him about the money being spent and the money being made. I want to know, have the planes been full to capacity?
Yeah, essentially what we see during the Olympic Games is a constant increased demand from the business aviation. In a normal life we would have 15 airplanes per day. Now the normal day is about 60, and at the peak days we have up to 120.
In terms of profit, you've made more than you imagined to do so. Is that fair to say?
No, we expect that we would have a pretty decent financial results after this event because the demand is much higher than we expected.
Can you put a number on that?
No, we haven't counted yet. Okay. That's after the Olympic Games. Everybody will count all the positive and negative things. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, super. And what about afterwards? How are we going to keep those planes full to the brim of people? Do you think the government can do more to make things like visas easier so that people are enthused to come here?
Yeah, we're discussing with the Russian aviation several initiatives. One of them is much easier, the visa regime in Russia, and the second one is the open air. They can invite more airplanes, easier for them to fly. Not through Moscow, but to have a direct flights. So that's number one. The second one, the people normally go with somebody when they want to go. So if you look at this year, we have a G8 summit in June. In September, we have International Sochi Summit, and in October, Formula One.
140,000 people have been making their way to Sochi over the last 3 weeks. And for the local cafes, the bars, the restaurants, well, it means a lot of disposable income. And as you can see, the crowds have arrived just here. They're all tucking in. And, well, it's a lot more money for Sochi to put in its pockets. The Sochi Sea represents a huge business opportunity for the local economy, and it's been completely transformed. Behind me here you can see the old Soviet port where for the last 50 years Russians have been coming on holiday, but now it has the capacity to facilitate 2 big cruise liners, as you can see just there, as well as 100 yachts. And during the Olympic Games, 27,000 people lived here. And the hope is that these thousands of visitors will make their way back to Sochi in the future for a holiday, taking tourism from 3 million people a year to 6 million. And in terms of jobs, well, that would mean tens of thousands of people with employment. And much of those jobs will go to the people that have worked on the Sochi infrastructure. There is no doubt that the Olympics provide huge publicity for a resort such as Sochi. That's why countries compete for years on end to get a hold of the rights. There's 3 billion people watching worldwide. That's billions of potential future tourists, of course. But for Sochi, it's not all been positive. We've had some rather unsavoury pictures of hotel rooms, lots of toilets. So I caught up with the regional director of the Residor Hotel Group, Mr. Thomas Hageman. I asked him about these pictures and the prospects for his hotel. I want to ask you, there's been some rather unsavoury pictures on the internet, mainly from journalists. We've had toilets and all sorts of hotel rooms unfinished. What do you make of that? Has that affected your business?
Not directly. I mean, I've seen plenty of these images, and we've talked with it about with our colleagues, but it had not really a direct effect to us.
Were you disappointed by them? You must have looked at them and thought, oh no, surely not.
Yeah, but to be honest, I have not seen any of these pictures myself, and
Okay.
I've spoken to a lot of journalists who are involved in the Olympics, and it seems to be a bit of a usual thing a couple of days before the Olympics, because all the journalists need to have a story, and then they pick something because they have to provide stories.
Yeah. Have your hotel rooms, have they been full to capacity? Have you been filling them up?
We have almost 100% for all of our hotel rooms, and we're operating more than 1,500 here. So we have been completely full over the Games period and the week prior.
What can be done to attract people when the games are done and done with? Maybe advertising campaigns. What do you intend to do to get people on a plane to Sochi?
Well, there are two things. One is what the hotels can do, and we will do a lot. We have a plan for that post-Olympics. But also what we are missing is a bit more support from the regional government. Usually if you create a destination like this, you have a convention office, a convention bureau, which does a professional destination marketing. And this is what we need. We need to market Sochi in Russia and in Europe.
And what kind of a person would come on holiday to Sochi, do you think? What is the target market here?
The main target is people from Russia. I mean, it's a main Russian market, a national market. And I believe that people have seen so many things about the Olympics now, and they're interested, and they will come down. I'm very, very confident with that.
So we've heard from the hotel industry. They're rather ambitious as to what's going to happen to Sochi. So are the investors. They're convinced they're going to get their money back. And to be fair to Sochi, it's rather unique in that you do have these snowy mountains for the skiers. And just over here today, it's plus 18 by the coastal cluster. And you've got the beach. So you've got a bit of everything going on. But the question is, are the 140,000 visitors that have made their way here in the last 3 weeks, are they going to come back? Well, let's go and find out.
I'll be honest, I haven't really moved out of the Olympic Village. The path that I'm on right now against the Black Sea here is just absolutely beautiful. The weather's fantastic. It's a challenge, I would imagine, from a Winter Olympic standpoint to have this beautiful weather and have Winter Olympics here right in our backyard. But overall, very, very nice, enjoyed it. And I'm here for 4 more days, and I look to spend more time outside because it's going to be great weather, and just enjoy what we're doing here.
And what do you make of the international press? It's been very negative. Do you think that's fair?
No, I don't. I think it's been pretty generalized. Yeah, and the people that we've met have all been so nice, and yeah, it's very welcoming.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. Press is press, I guess.
Do you think Sochi could be more reasonably priced?
I do. But I mean, it's the ruble compared to the world currencies. What can you do about it?
Would you come back to Sochi if there wasn't an Olympics on for a holiday?
I would love to see this place in the summer. I think it'd be absolutely spectacular in the summer.
Okay, so we've heard from the tourists themselves, but I'm now in the presence of a travel and tourism expert. Martin Andrews, you've lived in Russia for 8 years. You've been in Sochi for the best part of 2 weeks, as I understand it, in and around experiencing the city. What is the reality of prices here then? Tell me.
Let's talk about the airport straight away.
Yes.
Because lots of tourists and visitors who are coming here to Sochi for the first time are talking about the fact that the taxi drivers are taking really advantage of people coming here.
Yes.
And in fact, Adler, which is the main, part of the Olympic cluster, they're charging 1,000 rubles, so $15 for what is really just a 10-minute journey.
That's what I was charged, actually, I must say.
But the thing is that in London, a taxi from Heathrow to the centre is £60, which is $100. And of course, what taxi is and what business isn't going to take advantage of the influx of people being here in Sochi?
Okay, let's talk about restaurants then. People have got to eat. How do they afford to do that here? Is it reasonable or not?
Well, I think the average meal is around sort of $6 to $10. So it all really depends what you're used to.
Of course, an appetite.
Of course, and what you're enjoying. If you live in expensive cities like London, Moscow, Scandinavia, Japan, then obviously Sochi is going to be cheap.
Okay, moving on, let's talk about hotels. How much are you going to pay to put yourself up here in Sochi? Obviously, it depends on the stars, but talk me through it.
Well, here in Sochi, you've got 1 star to 5 star.
Yeah.
And in fact, my hotel is fine. So even though there's been many reports that there's
toilet talk,
no double toilets, no curtains,
no beds,
peach coloured water.
Yeah.
The reality is that Thomas Bach, the IOC president, said that some of the hotels aren't finished, but in fact it's just 3%.
Right.
So
it's those 3% that have been
3%
on the international
well, not just
media.
the 3% that haven't been finished, but every new hotel has teething troubles. Regarding price, well, really, you can have everything from bed and breakfasts. They've got Airbnb here, little homestays, 2 5-star hotels across the Polyana, and indeed many of the Western chains with their presidential suites. So really, you're looking at an average from around 3,000 rubles per night, which is around $80, $90, maybe a little less, up to, wow, unlimited.
Martin Andrews, extraordinaire, travel and tourism expert, joining me here on Venture Capital, your debut on my show.
Yes, thank you.
So Sochi is by no means at the finishing line when it comes to the budget, and there's still a huge money mountain to climb to break even. But it's going to be a busy year for Sochi because Russia's hosting the 40th G8 summit here in June. The Formula One race is coming up in October, and there's a busy summer season as well for the Black Sea Resort in between all of that. Of course, the annual Economic Forum too, which I'll be coming back for. Perfect opportunity to come and see if the balance sheet is still holding steady. So it's goodbye from Sochi.